research council at the University of Dundee, and he's the deputy director of the Division of Signal Transduction Therapy, which is Europe's largest collaboration between a basic science unit and the pharmaceutical industry. Okay, thanks very much. Mike emailed me a couple of months ago, said he just learned that I was going to be in Boston for 1 month, and could I come and talk at the symposium, and I gave him the same answer that Wade gave him, that I'd love to, but I don't work on cancer. Anyway, after a bit of negotiation, I finally agreed to give my only possible cancer-related talk, which happens to be a... So the MyD88 signaling network normally gets activated when immune cells are stimulated by components of pathogens like bacteria and viruses, and this activates signaling networks that lead to the production of inflammatory mediators that then sort of fight the invading pathogen. But when this pathway becomes hyperactivated or is activated for too long a period, or you're unable to resolve inflammation once it's done its job, it can cause a whole slew of inflammatory and autoimmune diseases. So this is what the pathway normally does. So let me just then in my first slide show you the early events, signaling events in this pathway, which I talked about in my Valley lecture on Tuesday afternoon at Harvard Medical School. So when toll-like receptors are activated by pathogen-associated molecular patterns, or the IL-1, 18 or 33 receptors are activated by their ligands, this protein MyD88 is recruited to these receptors, and this sort of initiates the signaling pathway. Then one then gets the recruitment of kinases of the IRAC family, shown in red, and then this leads in ways that I don't have time to go into, to the activation of a number of E3 ubiquitin ligases that include TRAS6 and members of the Polino family. So these E3 ligases in the presence of the E1 activating enzyme and an E2 conjugating enzyme called UBC13 UEP1A, which directs the formation of Ly63-linked polyubiquitin chains, allows these E3 ligases to generate those chains. So in the first part of my lecture on Tuesday afternoon, I described as a recent discovery that the formation of these Ly63-linked polyubiquitin chains is actually a prerequisite for the subsequent formation of linear or MET1-linked ubiquitin chains, so that when these Ly63-linked polyubiquitin chains are formed, then an E3 ligase called the linear ubiquitin assembly complex, or LUVAC, is able to bind these chains and then catalyze the formation of these MET1-linked chains attached covalently to the Ly63-linked chains to form Ly63 MET1-linked hybrid ubiquitin chains. So this, we think, is very important because it allows the co-recruitment of the two master kinases of this signaling system called TAC1 and the canonical IKK complex. So the NEMO component of the IKK complex binds specifically to the MET1-linked ubiquitin chains, and the TAC2 and 3 components of the TAC1 complex bind specifically to the Ly63-linked chains. Right? So by having a hybrid chain, are able to co-recruit both complexes, and we believe that's what is facilitating the activation of the IKKs by TAC1. So then the TAC1 and the IKK complex then go on to activate many other kinases and transcription factors. You get the phosphorylation of hundreds of proteins that eventually culminate in the production and secretion of a great variety of inflammatory mediators. So that's the pathway. Okay, so the story I'm going to tell you really sort of started with this paper that was published by Lou Stout's lab just about a couple of years ago in Nature, where he reported that actually something like 40% of all of diffuse large B-cell lymphoma, one of the least curable forms of lymphoma, is caused by mutations in MYD88. In particular, there was a mutation of leucine 265 to proline, which was the major mutation that was driving this, and the idea was that this was actually turning on this MYD88 pathway constitutively in the absence of any sort of toll-like receptor activation. So anyway, so when I saw this, I thought, well, we know quite a lot about this MYD88 signaling network. Surely, based on this, there'll be a job to be able to sort of find a way to destroy these lymphoma cells. So Lou Stout kindly gave us these cells, and so I just had this first year a graduate student join me, Sam Strickson, to do a 4-month rotation project, and I said, Sam, in your project, you're going to become famous because you're going to cure diffuse large B-cell lymphoma. So he sort of enthusiastically went into the lab on day one, and so I said, all we have to do is a whole variety of relatively specific inhibitors of the kinases in the system. I'm sure that if we find the right ones or the right combination of kinases, we'll have no problem in dealing with this lymphoma. So he started by using quite a potent dual inhibitor of IRAK1 and IRAK4 at a concentration here on the cells 5 micromolar, which we know obliterates the activity of both of those kinases. Those are the kinases just below MYD88. When I say obliterate, I can't lay my hand on my heart and tell you it's more than 95% inhibition, because probably the sensitivity of our blocking is blocking them out at least 95%. And as you can see, it was a little bit disappointing. We didn't get any significant slowdown in the system without the drug that was with it, and we didn't really see much of an effect at all. So I said, well, don't worry, Sam, we've got plenty of other kinase inhibitors up our sleeves. We've got the master kinase TAC1 just downstream of this. I'm sure that TAC1 inhibitors will be just great. So we used 2 structurally unrelated inhibitors of TAC1, again at concentrations that obliterate the pathway. We used a compound NG25 developed by Nathaniel Gray here at Harvard, and another compound that's been known for somewhat longer. And although we got a sort of a small inhibition of proliferation, it really wasn't anything to shout about. The cells are still growing and proliferating, and so I said, well, let's try the next one down in the pathway. That's the canonical IKK complex. So we have a very potent and specific inhibitor of this, developed by Boehringer Ingelheim, BI605906. But again, no go at all. So I said, well, this compound is specific for IKK beta, for IKK alpha to deal with. I said, okay, the TAC1 inhibitor should have dealt with IKK alpha beta, but maybe something strange in these cells. So, and there's actually only one compound that we could see that was described that would inhibit both of these. It's a compound called BAY11782. So we added BAY11782 and a closely related derivative, and to our delight, the cells were completely destroyed after about a couple of days of treatment. So I thought, this is still pretty strange, because if this is inhibiting IKK alpha and beta, and then the TAC1 inhibitor should have worked, because they also completely block IKK alpha and beta. So okay, so what is this compound? So this is the structure of this compound. It's a rather low molecular mass of 207 daltons. It was, as you can see from this name, it's a compound developed by Bayer. Actually, is an anti-inflammatory molecule. It actually was used in rat models of inflammation and edema and arthritis, and was given every day to these mice once a day for several weeks, and had very beneficial effects in reducing inflammation. So what it's been shown is it's an irreversible inhibitor, and it prevented the phosphorylation of IKB alpha, which is one of the classical targets for the canonical IKK complex, and as a result of that, inhibited the activation of NF-kappa B. So this seems to be an IKK inhibitor. In fact, if you look at the literature, you'll see actually there are nearly 400 papers in which it's been used as an IKK inhibitor to implicate NF-kappa B in a great variety of biological processes of the IKK complex. Anyway, I was concerned about what it was doing and what TAC1 inhibitors were not doing. So I said, look, Sam, let's assay this compound against the IKK alpha, IKK beta. So we did, and we found that it doesn't inhibit IKK alpha and IKK beta at all. Not even at 0.1 millimolar. And nor did it inhibit on IRAK1 and 4, so I thought this is very sound. We were going to study this in more detail. So let's see what happens to the activation of the canonical IKK complex in cells when we add this compound in. So then it started to become clearer. So here we were incubating a cell line that stably expresses the IL-1 receptor with IL-1 beta, which is a classical model for the MyD88 signaling network. And you can see that within a few minutes of IL-1 stimulation, you get activation of the canonical IKK complex. And as you increase the concentration of this compound, you eventually get to a level where it doesn't. The canonical IKK complex is not activated, and nor do you get phosphorylation of its substrate D105, and you actually block the degradation of IKB alpha, which is dependent on its phosphorylation by the canonical IKK complex. So what was inhibiting IKK alpha? It was blocking its activation. But its activation is catalyzed by TAC1, and TAC1 inhibitors do not mimic the effect of this compound on the cell line. And it also, as I just showed you in the last slide, it doesn't inhibit IRAK1 or IRAK4. So what the hell was it doing? So I thought, well, maybe it's working very near to MyD88. Somehow maybe it's not inhibiting IRAK1 and 4, but maybe it's blocking the activation of IRAK1 and 4 in some way. So we looked into this. You can look at this because you can measure the IL-1, or in this case the LPS stimulated autophosphorylation of IRAK4, and it turns out that this wasn't affected at all by this Bayer compound. So it actually isn't blocking the activation of IRAK1 and 4 at all. So what on earth could it be doing? Well, there still seems to be one thing left. It wasn't affecting anything here, and it wasn't affecting anything down here. So maybe the AY11702 is doing something to block the formation of either the Ly63 link or the linear polyubiquitin chains, and inhibiting some component of the ubiquitin machinery. Okay, Sam, let's look at the formation of Ly63 link polyubiquitin chains and see what this does. So finally we drag gold. So here you see there's unstimulated cells, there's no formation of these Ly63 link polyubiquitin chains being detected with a specific antibody. And if you stimulate with IL-1, you trigger Ly63 polyubiquitin chain formation. But if you add this compound prior to stimulating with IL-1, it completely stops the formation of Ly63 link polyubiquitin chains, which is presumably why it's blocking the activation of the canonical IKK complex and the phosphorylation of its substrates. Just let me remind you how these Ly63 link polyubiquitin chains are formed. Of course, like all ubiquitination reactions, you need an E1, and the ubiquitin initially gets transferred to a cysteine residue on the E1, and then that's transferred to the active cysteine on the E2, which in this case is UBC13, and then in the presence of an E3, or in this case like trans6 or the polinos, the E3 catalyzes the transfer of ubiquitin from the E2 to in this case another ubiquitin to form a Ly63 linkage. So in principle, this compound could have affected the E1, the E2, or the E2, basically, and possibly the E3. So we look into this, and so here we're looking at the loading of ubiquitin to an E1, and you can see that actually this compound didn't affect the loading of ubiquitin to E1, but when we looked at UBC13 and got to around 4 micromolar of the compound, the loading of ubiquitin started to go, and then it was completely gone to 8 micromolar or above. So this was an irreversible inhibitor, so it seemed it might not be binding covalently to the E2, and perhaps a reaction with the cysteine residue at that conjugates, that accepts the ubiquitin. So we actually did some mass spectrometry, and we saw that here is the sizes of the whole protein UBC13, and then when we react with the DAY11702, the molecular mass increases. But to our surprise, I already showed that this compound has a molecular mass of 207, but the mass only increased by 51. So what on earth was going on? So anyway, Sam went into all the chemistry of this, and it turned out to be sort of actually quite simple, that the reactive SH group on UBC13 by a Michael addition of this disulfide bond is forming a covalent adduct, and then the drug gets cleaved. So that just a bit of the drug gets the 51 chemicals that gets attached to UBC13, and you eliminate the rest of the drug, which is 4-methylbenzene sulfinic acid. So this is how it was sort of irreversibly inactivating the C2. And I won't go into this, but we actually looked at the chemistry in much more detail using N-acetylcysteine as a sort of a model reaction and purifying all the components and working out the structures by NMR, which was done by one of our chemists, Natalia Shapiro. Well, if you're doing this to UBC13, why should it just restrict this to UBC13? Maybe it's doing this on other E2. So if that's the case, then it could also be affecting the formation of linear polyubiquitin chains by LUBAC. So just to remind you here that the ubiquitin loaded E1, in this case, UBCH7 is thought to be the E2 that works with LUBAC physiologically, although it's not completely certain, but so you get ubiquitin attached to UBCH7, and then actually LUBAC is a sort of RTR side E3 ligase, so it's a bit like a heft E3 ligase, so it actually itself accepts ubiquitin, so you have the ubiquitin from E2 is first transferred.
I think that's the one question that I think that's the one.
From the extracts after incubating with and without the drugs to see if it actually inactivate LUBAC, and the answer was yes, it did. So this is IP in the endogenous LUBAC cells, and looking at its ability to form linear polyubiquitin chains for function of time, and you can see when you get up to, again, the usual sorts of concentrations that the LUBAC is inactivated, and we've sort of isolated the relevant tryptic peptides, and it's actually attached to the active site cysteine that we would expect. Okay, so what this was really saying is that the way this drug is actually blocking the MyD88 signaling pathway is by blocking one of them, probably more than one of the E2s, as well as LUBAC to block this reaction. So this pathway is not the only pathway in which Ly63-linked polyubiquitin chains are involved. So if this compound is inhibiting E2s like UBC13, it actually should block all Ly63 polyubiquitin-dependent processes. So, for example, one of those would be the cellular response to DNA damage. So it's known that you need to form Ly63-linked polyubiquitin chains to recruit the components of the DNA repair apparatus to subnuclear foci. So, for example, a protein called RAP80 gets recruited to the subnuclear foci in response to ionizing radiation. This is known to be a UBC13-dependent event, and you can see it's blocked by the AY11708. So there's only one other thing here, which is looking at phosphorylation of histone H2AX, which is actually important DNA repair, but actually its recruitment to DNA foci is not actually dependent on the formation of Ly63 polyubiquitin chains. So if you don't have any ionizing radiation, none of this phosphoprotein gets recruited to DNA foci, but without the radiation, but in the presence of this drug, you actually do see its recruitment to DNA foci. So probably what is happening here is that this drug is actually giving a certain amount of spontaneous DNA damage going on, and the drug is blocking the repair of that DNA, and that's what's leading to this recruitment. So these drugs are really not necessarily exerting their effects by inhibiting the canonical IKK complex and the MyD88 pathway at all. They could be doing this by blocking any Ly63-linked or linear polyubiquitin-dependent process. Okay, so just after we sort of done all this, a paper then appeared in Blood, in the journal Blood, saying that they had developed a specific inhibitor of UBC13. And when we looked at this compound, NSC697923, it looked remarkably similar to the AY11708 too. So we thought, well, we're going to put this compound through its paces. Is it really doing the same as the AY11708? So to go long story short, the answer was yes, exactly the same thing happens. This time the cysteine residue of UBC13 is a Michael addition here, and the drug again cleaves, and you get the elimination of 40-benzene sulfonic acid, and so you increase the molecular weight of UBC13, not by the weight of the drug, but by 95 kilonewtons, just half of the drug is attached. So surely it's not a specific inhibitor of UBC13. So we said ubiquigent E2 profiling panel. So we looked at the effect of both of these drugs on their ability to inactivate every E2 conjugating enzyme, which conjugates, ubiquitin. And it turned out that VAY11708 actually inactivates 24 of the 2060 E2s in this panel. NSC697923 is not specific for UBC13, but actually it's more specific than VAY11708. It actually inhibits 9 of the 2060 E2s. So you can see now, sort of minus the plus the drug. So it's here's UBC13 from this other name, UE2N. You can see that the conjugation of ubiquitin is gone, but there are various other E2s that are resistant to this. So it is actually a more specific derivative, and I can suggest that, if you play around with this type of compound, you actually might be able to get rather specific inhibitors of ED2, which is sort of quite interesting. So, okay, so just to finish, we thought when we studied, inhibiting all of these E2s, it's blocking lyse 63-link polyubiquitination, and it's also blocking linear polyubiquitination. What about lyse 48-link polyubiquitination? So if BAY11702 is inhibiting 24 to 26 E2, surely we'll wipe out lyse 48-link polyubiquitination, which is of course important for targeting proteins to the proteasome for degradation. So, I've got these the wrong way around, but anyway, what I sort of show you here is exactly the opposite happened. So much to our astonishment, the BAY11702 in a variety of cells actually, this is just lyse 48-link polyubiquitination without the drug, and then with the drug, it enormously increases lyse